Greetings and welcome to 2019. And episode 141 of the Words About Gamescast. I'm your host, Amy Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Keith Robinson.
YOLO.
YOLO? Is that your motto for 2019, is it? YOLO.
Might as well be. I mean, it's accurate. It's nice to believe in reincarnation.
Do you believe in reincarnation? Whatever. I'm sure I'll find out when I get there. How are you? It's been a lot, like last year since we did one of these things, right? That's the joke, right? How's it going?
In a linear line.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those kind of episodes. Well, I'm glad you're so forthright and talkative.
Yeah.
That bodes very well for this podcast.
Indeed.
Which is probably going to be a bit longer than normal because we've got 4 weeks worth of news to catch up on. Or more to the point, we've got like last week's news to do. And then like a little bit from the 3 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, it was like, well, it went fucking apeshit last week, really, didn't it?
There was a sudden blur of news. Almost as if like they'd been holding back over the holiday period and just let it all out now.
Almost like everybody had been on holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all got back and they were like, shit, we need to tell people about this thing. That's probably not how it works, but that's how it felt. Let's start with the news that Bungie splits with Activision, keeps Destiny. This is written by Jason Schreier over at Kotaku, who says Bungie and Activision are splitting up. An industry-shaking divorce that will see the shared world shooter series Destiny enter fully into Bungie's control. The development comes after years of tension between the two companies, tension that has existed since before the first Destiny even shipped. Bungie told employees during a team meeting this afternoon, framing it as fantastic news for a studio that has long grown sick of dealing with its publisher. Employees cheered and popped champagne, according to one person who was there. Quote, "We have enjoyed a successful 8-year run and would like to thank Activision for their partnership on Destiny," Bungie said in a blog post. Looking ahead, we're excited to announce plans for Activision to transfer publishing rights for Destiny to Bungie. With our remarkable Destiny community, we are ready to publish on our own, while Activision will increase their focus on owned IP projects. End quote. Destiny launched, yep, sure. One of the most significant tensions between Bungie and Activision had long been the annualized schedule, which mandated the release of a new Destiny game or expansion every autumn. Now, separated from Activision, Bungie will no longer be constrained by that schedule. Quote, "We'll continue to deliver on the existing Destiny roadmap, and we're looking forward to releasing more seasonal experiences in the coming months, as well as surprising our community with some exciting announcements about what lies beyond." End quote. So, Bungie hated working for Microsoft, left, signed up for Activision. Everybody was like, that was a dumb move. And then 8 years later, they were like, we're going to bounce. And everybody's popping champagne at the thought.
I think we did that. Bungie bounce.
Bringing that on. So, Bungie is an independent developer. Maybe I'll make Destiny one of my indie games of the week.
It would be hilarious if they go back to Microsoft.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, Destiny's established at this point, so it's like they've already got like revenue streams and whatnot. So I imagine they don't have to go and sign with a publisher. They got $30 million from NetEase, who's been throwing the cash around a bit recently to make another game. So I think financially they don't really need to go and make what would be a lateral move out, like, hey, we've just split from Activision, woohoo, pop, psh, now let's sign this contract with EA. I struggle to think of worse partnering publishers than Activision. Thoughts? General thoughts before I start questioning you.
I thought about making a joke about the fact that I was called splitting, like, celebrity but I mean, I don't have anything against Activision. We do discuss their business models frequently. Well,
I don't have
somewhat.
anything against Activision. They slowly seem to be taking over, insidiously taking over Blizzard and patent things like things called the microtransaction engine.
Yes.
Which, incidentally, is the reason I had to dye my hair red, because when I read about that, it went white.
Yes, you can joke
about the microtransaction engine. That's only because it's not a thing, as far as we know.
Yes, as far as we know.
That's the only reason I feel like I can joke about it. So what kind of game do you think this, like, what do you think happens next with Destiny? Like, the annualized releases, like, we found out about those in the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Marty O'Donnell's lawsuit, where it was like they were supposed to release Destiny, then an expansion, then Destiny 2, then another expansion, then 3, then another, and then 4, and then 5, and then on and on. We're 8 years in, so I guess. So
we had Destiny 4.
Yeah, we're supposed to be like Destiny 3 or Destiny 4 by now. Like, we were Destiny 2, and we got Forsaken, which is massively upended the game. So we've had like 4 different versions of Destiny. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the 5th version of Destiny will be like. Maybe that'll be the one that I actually really play. But do you think they slowed down? Do you think how do you think this works now?
I don't know. There's going to be a bit of a transition period. They do say they're going to bring more seasonal content. I don't know what this means. Does this mean we're going to get, like, next month a Valentine's Day event in Destiny 2?
I'm not sure I'm not sure they're not talking necessarily about seasons, as in like Christmas, as in like Lucio Ball and the Winter Wonderland and the Chinese New Year, stuff like Overwatch does. More just like seasons passes. So like, here's season Destiny 2 season 1, or I guess would be like season 3 or whatever. Like, would be the next one. So here's all the stuff that's coming in season 3, and then they'll bring out like expansions and content updates and this and that and the other, and then it'll be like, okay, now we're on season 4. Maybe they'll make Destiny 2 like a longer running thing, as opposed to, because you got to think that Activision were the ones that were pushing for like annualized, like major like releases of brand new games, given that how they work with Call of Duty, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we must have a new one every year, or like remasters recently, where it's like, we must have a new one every year. Like, they seem to like their yearly content drops, their yearly new games. But it'll be interesting to watch this develop as a thing, because Bungie isn't the Bungie that everybody remembers. Like, there's a lot of people like celebrating, like, Bungie are back, and it's like, they're not, though, because like barely anyone works there who used to work there when you used to love them. Like, when we used to play Halo Reach, it's like none of the people who worked on Halo Reach work at Bungie now.
Yeah.
They all left during the great migration. Yeah, it's like when they realized what kind of company they were turning into when they were making the original Destiny, as we discussed at length, thanks to Jason Schreier's awesome book, and also the Marty O'Donnell lawsuit, which seems like it was a decade ago, but it wasn't. It wasn't even that long ago.
Like 8 years.
The lawsuit wasn't 8 years ago. Well, the lawsuit couldn't have been 8 years ago, because we did it on a podcast. Because I remember us reading through all the text of it and being like, they said what? They agreed to what?
I remember like when the original Destiny came out, reading stuff from people who like contributed. I think it was the Penny Arcade guys, to be honest, and it was like, this isn't the game that we played and that we like were really hyped about on it. What we said we were hyped about on our like media and stuff. This isn't what we saw.
Yeah, well, all the changes and stuff that happened, we leaned a bit too far forward there. All the changes and stuff that happened, and like to the story, and there was that thing with the music and Paul McCartney and whatnot. That wasn't necessarily all driven by Activision. Like, that's the company that Bungie is now. So I have a feeling Destiny's going to still keep all of the microtransactions and keep a lot of the ethos of how Destiny currently works. It just might They just might not try and release a new Destiny like game every year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect Destiny 3 anytime soon. It's basically what I guess I'm saying. But let's move on.
Yes.
More industry shenanigans. So just before Christmas, and we broke up for Christmas, it was an interesting time in the PC gaming space.
Yes.
We were looking forward to the year ahead, and much like in 2017, where it was an interesting time for those nice little things called loot boxes, we were like, I believe we said the same thing in like both instances, where it's like it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the course of next year.
Boom.
And then like, but I'm sure it won't be like it'll take a while. Like it'll be like, and then it was like boom, loot boxes were like a thing like right when we came back. And then this time it's like, oh, PC gaming, yeah, but I'm sure it's going to take a while for these things to settle down. And then we come back to boom, nope, Ubisoft forgoes Steam in favor of Epic Games for The Division 2. And this is from Hayden Taylor over at GamesIndustry.biz, who writes, shots have been fired in the digital distribution platform war as Ubisoft shuns Steam in favour of Epic Games. While the recently launched Epic Games Store hasn't had much trouble attracting smaller indie developers, this exclusive agreement on such a high-profile AAA title represents a serious coup over Steam. Furthermore, it has been announced that Ubisoft and Epic will partner on additional select titles over the coming year. The partnership will see the PC version of The Division 2 available only on the Epic Games Store and directly from Ubisoft. Ubisoft confirmed that pre-orders placed on other platforms would be unaffected by the decision. Epic is working with the publisher to integrate a digital rights management software Uplay into its own online services. Chris Early, Vice President of Partnerships at Ubisoft, added, quote, "We entrust Epic to deliver a smooth journey for our fans from pre-ordering the game and enjoying our beta to the launch. Epic continues to disrupt the video game industry, and their third-party digital distribution model is the latest example and something Ubisoft wants to support." So boom. Boom, Keith. Boom.
Disrupt like the big. I mean, interesting word.
They do own the biggest game in the world. Yeah, so obviously we had a big long talk about this in the last episode, which, was a month ago. But yeah, boom. What do you think? Like, it just went off like immediately.
Yeah. Well, I figured it was going to have traction from the beginning of the year because it wasn't just going to die down. There's got to be some responses to this.
I didn't expect Epic Games. I expected Steam to respond. I thought that would have been like the first thing that happened. I figured Steam would do something to sort of change things up, or to say like, look, come over here. Like you don't need to go to Epic. You don't need to go to Discord. You can come to us. But what's interesting is, sorry, I don't know if you were gonna jump in there.
I was expecting us to come back to a story about Steam changing the policy on like this, the monetary split at like a certain number. I don't want to like get rid of that because of the cuts that other like platforms were offering. That's what I thought we were going to do. It's like, oh, we're going to be fair at the indie developers. Offer like this cut. That's what I thought we were going to come back to.
Yeah, that's pretty much like, or at least we say like, oh, well, look, we're reviewing it. We're a massive company. I think there's I saw a report saying there's like 30,000 games on the store. It's like we've got a lot of games on the store, so we need to take our time and have a look at it and see what we can do to like look at the split between the developer and Steam, because it's 70-30 at the moment. But that's what's really interesting about it, this particularly. So this isn't an indie developer. This isn't Supergiant Games or the makers of Ashen. This is Ubisoft, and the change that Steam made to the revenue sharing on Steam, that Valve made on Steam, was in favor of a company like Ubisoft. The more money you make, the more money you get to keep. So that was obviously aimed at making sure like Bethesda went off and did their own thing with Fallout 76, right? And EA have gone off and done Origin for years. That was aimed to make sure that other AAA publishers didn't fuck off and like do their own thing or go somewhere else. But you could still go, like, as Ubisoft is like just like proven, you still go to the Epic Game Store and you get to keep more right off the bat.
Yeah,
So at the end of the
because
day,
they've done the cut them.
yeah, you're gonna get more money. Like, so like it's like, yeah, Ubisoft have just gone, now we're gonna go to Epic Game Store, and the Division 2 is a big enough game where it's like people will just go there if you want to play the Division 2 on PC, and you don't want to fuck with Uplay because Uplay's got a really bad reputation. Well, just go on the Epic Game Store. You got to buy it somewhere.
Yeah.
Shots fired indeed, I think. So, do you think Ubisoft, like, they've said, like, select additional titles, so there are obviously games coming out in the future that are also going to be exclusive to basically not Steam.
Yeah.
And they're going to be on Uplay and the Epic Game Store. Are other publishers going to do this?
If Steam doesn't do something, then yeah, I would imagine so.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if Steam is saying, look, if you make a shit ton of money, you can keep a little bit more of it, because that revenue split is still more in favor of the publisher on Epic Games. Like, I get, like, there'll be a counter argument where, by that logic, everybody should go over to the Discord store because, you know, the split's even higher on Discord, but Epic Games has got more visibility than Discord.
Yeah, because it's got the biggest game in the world, as you said.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, it's like, I feel like they would start dropping sales if they were like, oh, we're going to be exclusive to the Discord store. It's like most people would just be like, oh shit, the Division 2 came out. Where is it? Steam. Oh shit, it's not on Epic Games. Oh, I guess it's not on PC. Oh, it must be exclusive to the Uplayer. Fuck this, I'm not going to buy it. Something like that. But, it's interesting. Very, very interesting. I could see Microsoft going in this direction as well, if I'm honest, because if they don't fix because they got two options, right? They need to fix their own store, which is just a horrible end user experience, or they could just go, hey Epic, we don't like Valve, so we're gonna sell our games on your platform too. Fascinating times. We've been praying for, like, proper competitors to Steam for years, and now we've got them. It's so exciting. Of course, there is the idea. There is the rumor floating around that Epic might just buy Discord, because they need a voice chat service, and, well, Discord has a voice chat service.
Indeed.
To go along with its store. We're using it right now. Anyway, you said you were expecting there to be news about Valve and Steam. Well, there is news about Valve and Steam, but it's not quite what you were probably thinking was going to come. Valve slaps Wandersong, a very real game, with fake game restrictions. This is from Allegra Frank over at Polygon, who writes, the delightful musical adventure game Wandersong launched to cult acclaim in September, and last week received several nods from the Independent Games Festival Awards. Yet Valve has marked it as under review, leaving players unable to access regular Steam features for it, like trading cards and achievements. It's the victim of a policy that launched last June, made to explicitly combat games that were intentionally inflating achievement and game counts for users to display on their profiles. A sidebar on Wandersong's store page includes a note that Steam is learning about this game, which comes with a dialogue box to actually explain what that means. Quote, until more players have interacted with it, some features will be restricted. It reads, the list includes limitations on achievements and items, as well as preventing players from adding it to their favourite games lists. All of these are meant to dissuade people from publishing games that serve no other purpose than to award players with stat-boosting achievements and the like. Developer Greg Globanoff tells Polygon that Valve first flagged Wandersong when it launched in September. That its veracity remains under deliberation is a surprise. Quote, I figured it would clear soon, since, the game is obviously real, and other games I checked that had launched just before us had passed, so I left it at that. Globanoff says about the lacking Steam features, which first came to his attention in October. An automated message from the platform's support service assured him that all games went through this process, he tells us. He now knows that's not quite the case, even as user reviews climbed, pushing the game's review average to very positive. There were only 3 negative reviews out of 269 at the time of writing. The Steam version of Wandersong remains at Valve's mercy, though the reason for this could actually be better than it sounds, according to Lobanov. Quote, "We're just so statistically anomalously popular with users, Valve's algorithm thinks we might be a scam game that hacked hundreds of accounts to make it look like we're this popular. It's a good-ish problem to have." End quote.
We're too popular in indie game.
Wow. I mean, can we just pull the plug on this fucking algorithm experiment already? Because it just doesn't work for anything. Like,
no! Skynet must succeed.
Skynet can't succeed because Skynet's so fucking stupid it can't even figure out that a multi-award-winning game isn't fake.
My video connectivity when you started dissing Skynet went into the red.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Fuck you, Skynet. Like, the Steam algorithm thinks that we both desperately want to play a Football Manager 2019.
Indeed.
Despite neither of our Steam accounts having ever accessed a Football Manager game in the past. Or any football game. Or I'm pretty sure most sports games. I think the closest we both come to sports is you played Pyre that one time, and that's a bit like a sports game.
It's Eldritch Basketball.
And I play Laser League, which is like a fake futuristic sports. But it's about laser walls running into people. Like... The Steam algorithm thinks that Wandersong is fake. That's ridiculous, right?
It's just an algorithm?
It's an algorithm that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And Valve wonders why people don't want to use Steam. Like developers, I mean. I know gamers are happy to use Steam because, you know, gamers like to homogenize their library in one place. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like, broadly speaking. Like, not everybody does. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, if I have to click one thing, like, if I have to click the Epic Games icon instead of the Steam icon, I'm not really that bothered. Like, but it's mental. That's mental. And especially, like, that coming out at a time when they're under so much pressure from Epic Games, and they've got the whole discoverability bug that they've apparently fixed, even though indie developers are saying, well, you haven't, or what you've done is, or whatever you've done to fix it has actually fucked like my game. Like, we spent, like, if you go back to episode 140, like, we spent a long time talking about all of the problems with them, with Valve and Steam, and this is just a continuation of that. And I'm sure as the weeks and months of 2019 go on, we are going to be talking a lot more about Valve and Steam and PC gaming in general. Valve needs to do something, though. Do you have any idea what they could do? Apart from... Because, like, they changed the revenue sharing split, but they're still going to be flooded with games. I mean, the whole reason this algorithm is necessary is because anybody can put anything on Steam.
Yes.
Does that not suggest that there's a very simple solution?
Indeed. And they're avoiding the simple solution because they see problems with it. And it's probably not as simple as everyone keeps making out, but still, they do need to start curating their store, and we've said it for years.
Yeah, ever since they stopped. Like, Greenlight was a good idea when it first came out. I remember the very first set of Greenlight, like, games that got Greenlight. Like, I was involved. I was going in. I was sharing, like, cool indie games that I found in Greenlight. I was voting for things. I was following games. And I think the first set of games, there was only, like, 16 games. Yeah. There was a very, very small amount of games that got Greenlight. And then the second time around, there were a few more. And then I think it very quickly escalated at the point where they were greenlighting, like, hundreds of games. And votes were being bought, and there was bots and Russian hackers and scammers and all sorts of crazy shit going on. People were offering free games in exchange for votes, and yeah, it all just kind of went to shit.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it was a good idea that tanked, and then they never really...
It was an idea too pure for this world.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, they had to... And the only reason you had to pay a fee to get on Greenlight was because everybody just submitted Half-Life 3. When it first launched, I remember that too. Jesus. Okay, Valve, just go home. You're drunk.
Yeah.
But while we wait for news of the PlayStation 5 and whatever they're going to end up calling Xbox Scarlet, we've got news of a console, though. The Mad Box is a new console from Project Cars Studio Slightly Mad. This is from Laura K. Dale over at Kotaku, who writes, if you've played either of the Project Cars games, you'll know that developer Slightly Mad Studios is capable of shiny, high-end visuals in video games. But apparently making games is not enough. The company is also getting into the console manufacturing space in the near future, as it has just announced the Mad Box. Slightly Mad CEO... it's the way that comes... Yeah, it's the way that reads, right?
Yeah.
Slightly Mad CEO Ian Bell, who apparently is slightly mad, announced the move in a cryptic tweet before later revealing further details and elaborating on the news. The system will apparently support 4K gaming, VR at 60 FPS per eye, or 120 FPS total, which is the bare minimum you need for VR to not make people's heads explode, and a number of peripherals. Speaking to Variety, Bell elaborated with the rather disappointing revelation that the console is planned to ship in around 3 years' time. He explained that it would be a standalone console like the PS4 and Xbox One, and will be compatible with most VR headsets on the market. Presumably, this means it will support PC VR headsets, but not PSVR. Bell also stated that the console will be priced competitive with upcoming console prices, suggesting it will be in line with the eventual PS5 and Xbox 2, or whatever they end up being called. Though Slightly Mad has turned to Kickstarter previously to fund games, it apparently already has funding secured for the Madbox. The console won't be targeting exclusive games as incentives, so it'll be a while before we see if there's any reason to plump for this over more established offerings, or whether it's just a bit too bonkers to succeed. So, a game development studio is, first of all, good on you for not going to Kickstarter. Games consoles have never fared well on Kickstarter. Who remembers the Ouya? Nobody remembers the Ouya.
I remember the Ouya. I never saw what it looked like, but I remember the name.
Well, I mean, the name is very significant. It was actually, the Ouya holds a very significant place in both our hearts, because that was where Towerfall was first developed and released, before Matt Thorson took it to all the other consoles and PCs and stuff. And that's one of our favorite. Well, it's one of my favorite games. So Keith, the Mad Box.
I mean, when Sony entered the gaming market, no one was really expecting them.
This is true. That is a fun story,
but it does seem really off the ball. I mean, the writer of this suggests that like these guys, and now they're making the console, which it sounds crazy.
It's weird that it sounds crazy, though, right? Or am I just am I weird for thinking it sounds weird? Because essentially what this boils down to is, we'll get into the details of what they've said about how the console's going to work in a minute, but, on the face of it, someone launching a new console into the market, is the game console market that, impenetrable and locked down that we think it's crazy that anyone would attempt to launch a console?
It's there's never really been a massive amount of, different consoles that you could get. So it's only been 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And generally, it used to turn out to only be 3. Nintendo, who are off doing their own little thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's telling that Nintendo aren't even referenced here. It's just Nintendo are just in the corner somewhere, doing whatever they do. If you launch a console, you're really launching against the PS4 and the Xbox One, or the PS5 and Scarlet.
Yeah, in the past it was Sega and Sony, and so it's only ever been a 2-horse race with Nintendo doing their own little thing because they have some sort of magic lamp.
Nintendo either blasting off into an unassailable lead or lagging so far behind it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
That's their default setting. They don't seem to have a middle ground. They're either incredibly successful or incredibly not.
So, on that basis, what do you think the Switch is?
Incredibly successful. This year it'll probably be the best selling console of the year, easily. Last year it was beaten by the PS4, but not by much, if I'm remembering my numbers rightly. There's no NPD figures to go through for the year yet, so that'll probably be next week's podcast. But to the Mad Box, some of the features it will support 4K gaming. I mean, if it's going to launch in 3 years and it doesn't support 4K gaming, bearing in mind it will be up against the PS5 and the next Xbox, it's dead in the water straight away.
Yeah.
VR at 120 FPS. I mean, again, it's if you go lower than that, you can't do VR. because the frames need to be smooth. It's going to support. It's like from what I'm reading here, it's going to support a number of peripherals. It's going to support most VR headsets on the market. It's going to be a PC, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe with like smaller, cheaper components, so they don't have to sell it at a PC price. But
Yeah.
it's basically sounds like it's going to be a PC.
I mean, if Bitcoin keeps going, cryptocurrencies keep going, it might be a good place to get a graphics card, but...
Indeed. Yeah, it depends what kind of chip. It depends if they go with a chip or a full-on graphics card. If they go for a graphics card, it might be like the time everybody bought PlayStation 2s because they were cheaper. They were the cheapest way you could get DVD players. So
yeah.
everybody bought a PS2 even if they weren't going to use it for games because they wanted a DVD player.
I didn't do that. I will admit that I bought an Xbox for the Blu-ray player.
Among other things.
The games were a bonus.
How dare you say? There's an interesting one. The console won't be targeting exclusive games as incentives. So they get the Mad Box. Oh God, I hope it's not called the Mad Box. The Mad Box. The Mad Box isn't going to have console exclusive games. So what's its selling point? Why should I buy one?
It's gonna have to be price if it's not gonna have a.
Yeah.
It's either gonna have to be price or the fact, or you could do something really daft, like you could play console or PC games on it, or stuff like something like that.
It's gonna be, from what I'm reading, and we're gonna find it. Like it's years, so we've got years to talk about this. It's the Switch all over again. It's gonna have it's gonna have third-party games, right? Obviously, it's gonna have something. But you're going to be foregoing. I mean, again, push Nintendo out one side. You're going to be foregoing all of the, like to buy this console. You're going to be foregoing all of the different PlayStation exclusive games and the Xbox exclusive games for no exclusive games.
Yes,
and it makes sense in one way because Microsoft and Sony have established reputations. Like Microsoft has established franchises and a bunch of new studios who people like the content of, and PlayStation has an established reputation where it's like even if one of their studios is working on a brand new IP, well, fuck. I mean, in the last couple of years, look at the games they've made. I'm sure, and you give them the benefit of the doubt and say, I'm sure this is going to be fine. Like Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sure this is going to be at least good. I give them the benefit of the doubt based on the fact that their exclusives for the last 2 or 3 years have been amazing. And then you go over to this and it's like, well, why do I need this as well? Because it's going to be an as well purchase. On top of a Switch, on top of a PlayStation, on top of an Xbox, on top of a PC. Price is probably the only thing you got going for it, right? It's got to be cheaper than the other consoles to entice people to say, I will buy this over an Xbox or a PlayStation. Because it's not going to be the cheapest way to VR. Because if it's the PSVR is far and away the cheapest VR headset you can get. So even if the console is cheaper, the VR headset's going to be inordinately more expensive. Barring a substantial market shift in the next 3 years. It's weird. It's very weird.
Indeed.
But yeah, it's I don't know where they would get their exclusives from anyway. It's I doubt they've got the money like Microsoft has where they can just buy whoever they want.
Yeah.
The next 3 years we'll be talking about this, I guess. Here's a question for you right now. 3 years plus, because it might not launch on time. 3 years in advance. Does this come out?
I don't know, given everything that's going on in Britain's potential future at the moment, I don't know if we will be reporting on stuff in 3 years. I mean, there's so much stuff going on in the world. I mean, we've heard about consoles before, which never came, which never made it.
They were too beautiful for this world.
I mean, we mentioned the Ouya. I mean, the
Ouya came out for a
didn't
bit.
make it though.
I mean, it was an Android box. I'm not sure what people thought it was gonna do.
Yeah.
Towerfall probably had it spinning at 90% frigging capacity, for God's sake. Like, but then the Ouya was a product of a time when everybody thought mobiles were gonna be the future and consoles were gonna die.
Yeah, I keep seeing mobile phone games come out, and I think we'll discuss that later on.
We will. Now, this is an interesting one. So when this podcast comes out, our predictions video still isn't live, but we've recorded it more than a week ago.
Yeah.
And that might be a little bit of a spoiler based on the headline I'm about to read. Amazon is launching a game streaming service, report says. This is from Eddie Makuch over at GameSpot, who writes, one of the biggest companies on the planet, Amazon, looks like it's extending its reach to yet another sector. The information reports today that the retail giant is looking to launch its own game streaming service. Deadline backed up the report with a report of its own that claims the project exists within Amazon right now. No iPad, don't go all the way back to the top. Don't run away from this. Deadline also reports that Amazon is currently speaking with publishers to distribute their games on the untitled Amazon game streaming platform. The service could reportedly launch in 2020 at the earliest, though it's unclear if this is for a beta version of the platform or the full thing. Do you know why Netflix makes a lot of money? Amazon Prime makes a lot of money because people don't just buy Amazon Prime for Prime Video. Yeah. Like, I've never used Prime Video, despite being an Amazon Prime subscriber for like 2 years. But the reason Netflix makes a lot of money is because there's Netflix, and then there's nothing else. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of movies, because obviously there's tons of different companies that are going away to do their own streaming services. Yeah. And I feel like the games industry is starting to move in this direction where we're getting Game Pass. Game Pass was a fantastic idea that everybody fucking loved.
Yeah.
Like, once they learned about it, and especially as Microsoft started adding more games to it and getting indie games to come into it. And then a lot of companies have are starting to come out with their own announcements. So EA is doing EA Origin Access Premier, where it's like, you can get all of our games on PC day and day, like, if you pay this monthly subscription. And Amazon's looking into it, and you can bet there's like a bunch of other companies that are looking into it. And it's just like, it comes down to the whole thing we talk about when we talk about live service games, where it's like, I only have so much money, guys. Like, I can only subscribe to so many of these things. So to really like cut through, like, Amazon's got to go really big. Like, if Amazon becomes the true Netflix of gaming, where it's just like, we've got third parties, we've got PlayStation games, we've got like everything because we're the richest company in the world, like, then yeah, maybe, totally cool. But how many of the biggest publishers are going to play ball with them if they're trying to make their own service like this?
I can't imagine Xbox as a Microsoft to be entirely happy about people going off their like Game Pass to go on the Amazon.
I mean, it was bound to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it was successful, so other companies are of course going to attempt to replicate it. But you look at that, it's like EA aren't gonna have anything to do with it because they've launched their own version. PlayStation won't have anything to do with it because they've got PlayStation Now, which, although a slightly inferior service, one day maybe they'll turn it into something like similar to Game Pass. Well, I'm wearing the fucking Samus t-shirt, I'm talking shit about PlayStation, I'm trying to like shit a certain image here. I'm just saying. But anyway, I mean I rent games, so like if this was a good replacement for the place where I rent games physically from, I'd buy in a heartbeat. But it's not gonna be. Like, I could get Anthem from my game rental place, and like, I guarantee I would never be able to get Anthem from Amazon Game Pass or whatever the fuck, Amazon Prime streaming Premiere Gaming,
Amazon Prime Gaming.
Amazon Prime Gaming. But Tom predicted something like this might happen. So far it's just a rumor. But if the rumor is confirmed, it's happening again, isn't it?
I was wondering when the data just went live if you hadn't heard some whisper of it on the wind.
No, well the news broke. The news broke after we recorded. I'm gonna have to add a date to the predictions video now because of this. Because there was that, and then there was another one which I won't spoil, which was one of my predictions, where there was like, "Hey, there's a rumor that this is a thing," and I was like, "Oh shit, I said that." in my predictions. Tom's gonna win again.
I can't remember my prediction.
That's what you love to hear. Right, Wednesday, the video goes live on Wednesday. The Wednesday after this podcast is. If you're watching this podcast like a week late, it's not this Wednesday, it's already out. Just go and have a look, it's fine. Right, this is a very long news story that I've split into two parts. Now, I'm going to ask you, Keith, do you want to actually go into this? I'm going to give you the choice. Imagine this is a QTE. Press square to move on to the next news story. Press circle to dive into this news story.
I mean, it's worth noting the first part, I think.
I mean, if you note the first part, you have to kind of note the second part. Because the first part is the thing that happened, and the second part is why is the effect it's going to have.
Yeah. So.
Shit. Overwatch Contenders controversy has once again made things more difficult for women in esports, writes Jay Costello over at Rock Paper Shotgun. Now, we split this up into two parts, and the reason I did that was because I think we're going to break at part one to talk, and then read part two, and then talk again. So this is the first part of the story, and I did prune this down. This is a very long article over at Rock Paper Shotgun, and if you're interested in reading more about it, head over there to read it after we've talked about it here. Late last year, Tier 2 professional Overwatch team Second Wind announced that they'd signed a female player. The woman, who went by the tag Ellie but kept much of her identity private, was lined up to be one of the very few to play in Overwatch Contenders. Though many were excited to see some variety in the male-dominated scene, Ellie was immediately subjected to harassment, including doxing threats. Before playing her first game last week, she chose to step down. Then, Second Wind announced that Ellie was not who they claimed to be, and all hell broke loose. It's an understatement. Second Wind's statement doesn't go into details about Ellie's identity, but others' claims point to two main suspects, likely working together. Ex-Second Wind player Colin Kaluge, who was dropped for poor behaviour and boosting, and a top unsigned player known in-game as Punisher. Arai tweeted claiming, "I'm Ellie, it was me the whole time," and also shared screenshots of Punisher talking about an account that he does, quote, "the girl voice on," end quote. A streamer who goes by Aspen also said that Punisher had confessed to her, and esports consultant Rod Slasher Breslow posted further screenshots in which Punisher apparently discusses his, quote, e-girl smurf account for Ellie, end quote. According to Breslow, the 17-year-old girl who voiced Ellie also confessed to teammates that she hadn't been the one playing, only speaking. Quote, "The whole situation was meant to be, in a way, like a social experiment," Aspen said. End quote, yeah. For his part, Arai claimed, "I just wanted people to stop thinking Kaluge was toxic or Kaluge is washed up," end quote. And that's the end of part one. To be continued. So that's the situation that actually happened. Any thoughts?
I mean, when I saw this, it was basically the whole thing of announcement the girl gets signed, internet goes crazy, and the girl has to withdraw because of death threats, including people saying they're going to turn up with knives. So,
I see. Funny you mentioned knives. That's going to be a part. That's going to play into a part of the second story as well. The second part of the story, not it's the same story. Yeah, you told me about this, and I had been doing. I believe I'd been working on Game of the Year videos.
Mm-hmm.
All through the day, and then I was taking a break to come to if you want to hang out, 'cause crazily enough, we're friends outside. We don't just do a podcast together. We're actually friends. We hang out amazingly.
When I told you about it, I didn't know anyone before you
Yeah, you
mentioned
told
it.
me about it, and you were like, "Oh, the Overwatch Contenders is signing a female player," and I was like, "Awesome!" And then you're like, "But she's been like harassed and doxxed and sent death threats," and I was like, "That sounds about right, brilliant." And then you were like, "And she's withdrawn." And I mean, yeah, I mean, regardless of anything else that happened in terms of her identity and some douchebags who were like pretending to be girls for some reason on the internet as a social experiment, like she got immediately harassed as soon as she was announced. Before anything started coming up about her identity and whether she was really, really playing or really not, she was like instantly set upon because she was a woman and she played esports. I know she wasn't and she didn't. That's not the point. And that's kind of part of what feeds into the second part of the news story. But the actual thing itself was just crazy. Like when it says all hell broke loose, it's like all hell really did break loose. And like after we were finished and I got home, I was like, oh, I'll read about this Overwatch Contenders situation because it's probably going to be something that's going to come up on the podcast, and I didn't need to go far because like everybody on my Twitter timeline was tweeting about it, but in that in-depth way of just like the full story, like the whole thing of it was this guy and he had his Smurf account he did the girl voice on and whatnot, and it's just, yeah, it was nuts. Shall I read part 2 now?
Yeah.
This is part 2 of Jake Costello's article over at Rock Paper Shotgun, which continues on to say, in the end though, who Ellie was and what their motivations were are secondary to the damaging effect that they've had on women in the esports industry. Those who immediately disbelieved Ellie often claimed it had nothing to do with gender, and yet these same kinds of accusations always seem to come up for top female players, regardless of their veracity. The Overwatch League's only female player, Kim Giguri Seoin, who's a fucking phenomenal tank, was forced to prove that she wasn't cheating after receiving harassment for her performance, including another pro player threatening, quote, "I may visit Giguri's house with a knife in hand. I am not joking," end quote. And in 2015, a Hearthstone player known as Lee Magic Amy Hiram was the centre of an incredibly similar story to this one. As reported by Kotaku at the time, pros and fans alike believed Lee was simply a front for someone, a man, naturally, who was really playing the games. Lee was cleared of suspicion by her team, Tempo Storm, who wrote, "We believe that Magic Amy is one person, and that Hiram Lee is indeed who she claims to be." This is based on multiple eyewitnesses and first-hand testimonies claiming that they interacted with her individually. The personal information she has given us, combined with her employment records with Lunox Studios, relationships with players, and the fact that she has met people face-to-face, is enough to confirm her identity. End quote. It's not hard to see how the current situation will be used as yet more ammunition to doubt women who try to go pro in the future. If Ellie truly was a social experiment, it was a poor one. If designed to show what women experience, actually, I'm just going to stop there because the most important pertinent points for what I want to talk about, or what we would probably be able to discuss, are in the first point, and the rest of it is a bit more. But like, if you want to hear more of that article, definitely go and check it out. It's really long, but it's really good. So yeah, you mentioned knives, and I obviously remember the story about Giguri, who went through some very similar stuff to Ellie, in terms of like, because there was a whole thing because she wasn't signed at the very beginning of the Overwatch League,
despite being the world's best Zarya.
Despite being the best Zarya player in the world. So there was a whole discourse surrounding Giguri for months before she signed with the Shanghai Dragons.
Yes. There were several teams who came up with bizarre reasons why they wouldn't sign female players. Houston Outlaws said it was because
they had what was it, a single sex house? Yes. They bought a house.
Yeah, they bought a house and weren't going to have a co-ed house.
Yeah, they bought a house, and then what they did was they took the really mature step of getting one of those signs and hanging it out the window that just said "No girls allowed," where the girls has got the S backwards and it's spelled with you. It's fucking ridiculous, basically.
I think it's like Houston is Texas. Texas is a very religious state. Maybe the person who puts up the money for it doesn't believe in cohabitation, but still, it seems like that seems like mixing if it happened mixing your religious views with your business views to the point where you're segregating it to a ridiculous degree. You could have like two wings to a house. You could have two houses, and they go somewhere else to train. If you're going to do that,
yeah, it's almost like you could have a training facility. Like there are so many things that you could do. Like to do that. Like there were obviously other equally as ridiculous reasons as to why.
I think the London Spitfires said they were going to try and get an entire team from them. They didn't eventually go with an entire team. They didn't get all Korean players, but I'm sure they said
did. They
bought
two teams. They signed up two teams. That was how it was. They signed two professional Overwatch teams and kind of merged them together. And then they did this thing where they were trying to like rotate players in the early parts of the game, but then they kind of settled on a roster and let a bunch of players go, which was their reasoning for not signing Gaguri, because they were like, well, we filled our roster with these two teams that we've signed, these two full teams. Not that I'm like, but I don't know, man. Like and then there's the Hearthstone example from 2015, and I'd put money on like any notable esport that tries to have either, if it's a team-based one where they try to sign a female pro player, or if it's a single-based one like Hearthstone where a female pro player just happens to rise through the ranks. I can bet no one would anyone who takes this bet would be stupid, because I would just bet that, hey, I bet like she gets told by a bunch of internet weirdos that, oh, she's obviously not really playing the game, she's just a front for this person. How dare she like pretend to play Hearthstone or Overwatch, like this kind of thing. It's a familiar pattern, I guess, is what I'm saying. The only problem is this time it's the old saying of a broken clock is right twice a day. And like this time, Ellie happened to be fake. And what that does is that gives ammunition to all the shitheads who will do this to every single female pro player who tries to come up through Contenders or into the Overwatch League. To say, well, she's faking. Well, what proof do you have? Well, Ellie was a fake. Remember Ellie? And that's their justification. It's a slim justification, but in
the thing
is,
like a fake player coming up through Contenders, as soon as they turn up to a match, they're exposed.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But it won't matter.
Yeah.
It never does. People are just the worst sometimes. Soldier 76 is gay now, though. Oh, I guess was always gay, and we just never knew it.
Yeah, I saw something about that. It's one of those comic things.
Yeah, I think it was a short story or a comic.
It's something to do with like the Bassett comic which came out.
Yeah.
He was mostly with Anna, but mentioned he's gay. I haven't read it.
Yeah, there's a conversation between Anna and 76 about some dude. I don't know. Like I say, I haven't read it. Like, they don't release them fast enough for me to be able to properly get into the Overwatch lore. Like,
yeah,
cool that he's gay. I do love the fact that the big buff, manly, masculine American soldier character is gay, and I love all the memes.
The two iconic characters, the two poster characters for Overwatch, Tracer, who is the poster girl, and Soldier 76, who is like the tutorial character, plus every character that people go into. They're both the ones that have decided to make LGBT. I mean,
they already were. Like the weird thing about Overwatch is it's like we don't really know enough about the characters, like because there's no story. Like this could have always been a thing. They could have just decided this was a thing.
Yeah.
Every single Overwatch character might be LGBTQ. Like, we don't know.
The only thing that like kicked back that I actually liked about this was the fact that like some people were like, no, what they should have done was, instead of having like Soldier 76 gay, and this is the only one I agree with, is having both Roadhog and Junkrat as being a gay couple, because they have such a strange positive relationship with each other, despite being complete I don't want to swear on the stream, but despite being the bad guys and completely dysfunctional, they do have this weird kind of positive, mutually supportive relationship.
They do. It's true. They're pretty cool. I'd say maybe like the people who are complaining about Soldier 76 being gay online have just got the wrong end of the stick, and actually there's a token straight character.
Lucio and Diva appear to have some sort of crush on each other. If you listen to their voice lines.
Either one of them could be bi or trans. Doesn't necessarily rule them out for being LGBTQ. I'd just love to see the internet have a meltdown if that was the case.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, fucking... I'm trying to think of a guy like Reinhardt is the token straight character. And Twitter is offline.
Well, he's not married. Actually, no, it would be Torbjorn, because Torbjorn is married with children. So Brigitte as his like elder or something.
Married to who?
Torbjorn's married to a NPC who has nothing to do with combat or anything, and has like 5 daughters. It's like Farah. Anna's obviously had a husband who's some Native Americans. Why Farah's got Native American skins.
That's a very big leap, but okay.
Hey, I'm just going off. I just literally said what the law is there. That's just.
Well, I mean, I'm taking with the obviously had a husband part.
I think it's written, but I'm not sure on that one.
I do know, like I say, I don't know the Overwatch law. I just know that gay people can have kids too.
Yeah.
I'm skipping down a bit, by the way. Yeah. Which is you'll explain why there's always a long sigh, because the next headline is Alien Isolation sequel announced. For phones.
Air hug.
This is from Jason Schreier over at Kotaku, who writes, Alien Isolation was a big critical hit when it came out in 2014, so news of a sequel might come as welcome news to fans. Yes, you're right, Jason, it did. Less welcome news might be the fact that the sequel is a mobile game. Fuck you too, Fox. Today, Fox announced Alien Blackout, a survival horror game that, like Isolation, stars series protagonist Ellen Ripley's daughter, Amanda. Unlike Isolation, which launched on PC and consoles, Alien Blackout is launching on the Apple and Google stores. And unlike Isolation, which was developed by the British studio Creative Assembly, Alien Blackout will be published by D3Go, previously responsible for Marvel Puzzle Quest and Adventure Gnome. D3Go's description of the game makes it sound a whole lot like Alien Isolation. Try to stay alive while trapped aboard a crippled Weyland-Yutani space station carrying a deadly xenomorph as it tirelessly hunts you and the crew. Outsmart the perfect hunter by making perilous choices. Survive 7 fear-inducing levels by remotely guiding Amanda Ripley's crew through increasingly challenging tasks using only the station's emergency systems. Well, my hype is dead.
Yeah.
And
it's like a top-down isometric game where you try and guide people through.
You are looking through cameras and telling people where to go and shutting doors and whatnot. Like, as an alien tries to kill everybody. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, mobile games are fun. And this might actually be a good game, but, like, Alien Isolation, like, it's not Alien Isolation sequel.
Right. So. It's even more disappointing than finding out Command & Conquer's coming back as a mobile game.
For me, yeah, sure. for Russell, maybe not so much.
No, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like fucking shit all over my dreams, right? Don't you, Fox? No wonder they didn't say anything about Blackout when the trademark was announced. Bastards. Again, I have nothing against mobile games. It's just, yeah. I mean, if you've played it, and you'll know. But let's move on. Facebook blocks Gris advertisement for containing a sexually suggestive statue. This comes from Vicky Blake from over at MZV, who writes, Facebook has rejected an advertisement for Devolver Digital's Gris, claiming it was too sexually suggestive. Quote, Facebook rejected a Gris launch trailer ad for this sexually suggestive scene, so this year is going great so far, stated Devolver Digital's official Twitter account. When commenters suggested the clip was auto-tagged as sexual content via an AI algorithm and urged Devolver to resubmit, the company replied, "We did, and it was denied twice." A Devolver representative told Kotaku via a statement, "This is stupid." Quote, "We appealed, and they said the appeal was rejected based on the grounds that Facebook does not allow nudity. First of all, she's a statue, and second, absolutely no nudity is shown in that photo, nor is this what any reasonable person would consider sexualized content." End quote. But wait, Devolver, keep going. A Devolver spokesperson told Eurogamer, "It's a silly situation that lacks any common sense, but mostly we're embarrassed to admit we're still using Facebook." I mean,
you gotta love the.
I love Devolver.
You gotta love Devolver.
I do. I love Devolver with all of my heart. Gris is a phenomenal game. It was in my top 30 games of 2018. There is no sexually suggestive content in that game whatsoever. From the screenshot that was posted by Devolver Digital, which is from the very beginning of the game, where there's a giant statue that is not in any way naked, nor doing anything sexually suggestive, unless you got turned on by the end of Avengers Infinity War, because the statue is basically crumbling. I mean, if Facebook doesn't like sexually suggestive things, it needs to stop showing me some of the ads that it does.
Yeah. There is a fair few Facebook pages which just try to get clicks and views and stuff by putting up joke memes, some of which are sexually suggestive. They get through fine.
Yeah, of course they do. Because Facebook is ridiculous. Facebook is the Steam of the social media world.
Shots fired.
It is. The only reason I still use Facebook is because it's the only place I can guarantee that all you guys will read my messages.
We are cheap enough to use Facebook because it's free.
If you guys would just come to Twitter, where, it's still a garbage fire.
I'm on Twitter.
I know you are. You're the only bloody one. Tom only ever looks at Twitter when I tag him in something. Russell never looks at Twitter. If he ever does, he's going to see me talking complete shit. He's going to show me... I basically, whenever I mention Russell on Twitter, I'm usually talking shit about it because I know he's never going to read it.
I did tag him into a Star Citizen post the other day.
Yeah, you won't have seen that.
I know.
Yeah, it's no one fucking uses Twitter except you. It's if I got a group DM... If I moved the Words About Gamescast group chat to Twitter as a group DM, the Words About Gamescast would fall apart within a month.
You realize I'm the only person that comes in regularly anyway.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. That's a behind-the-scenes conversation, maybe. I was about to launch into there, where it's just let's be fair. Between the two of us, we are responsible for 99% of all of the content anyway.
Russell does provide a very important 1%.
He does. He gives us those mental predictions that somehow come true. Speaking of Russell, let's do this next one.
Yeah, he's not here.
He's not here, so it must be time. It's the law. We have to talk about Star Citizen. Star Citizen single-player game targets 2020 release. Don't know why I started laughing there. This is from Charlie Hall over at Polygon, who writes, Chris Roberts, creator of the Star Citizen game project, announced that his organization has secured $46 million in private investment. Along with that announcement comes a release window for the team's single-player game Squadron 42, which is now expected to be released in the summer of 2020, more than 8 years after its original Kickstarter campaign. Fuck me, it's been 8 years. The investment comes... it's been 6.
Yeah.
The investment comes courtesy of billionaire record producer Clive Calder and his son Keith. And in exchange, the pair now own approximately 10% of the shares of Cloud Imperium Games and have several seats on the board of directors. Roberts maintains majority control of the company. As a result of the investment, the Star Citizen project is now valued at nearly $500 million. Roberts implied that much of the additional funding would be spent on promoting Squadron 42, whose cast includes Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, and other A-list Hollywood talent. Quote, "We are building two of the most ambitious games ever embarked on in gaming, with budgets that are unmatched by all but the very biggest projects. We have been acutely aware that having a AAA game that matches the biggest single-player games out there only goes so far if no one knows about it. I guarantee everybody fucking knows about this game. Because of this, we started to investigate ways to raise money to fund the upcoming marketing and release needs of Squadron 42." End quote. Today, Roberts also revealed, well, not today, but his organization's financial records for the first time. Figures include money raised from the sale of virtual spaceships, but also partnerships with organizations like Intel. The data shows the tremendous earning power of the Star Citizen brand, with roughly $35.7 million earned from backers over each of the previous 3 years, with current estimates coming in at over $36.8 million for 2018. And there's a graph. $7.262 million was how much they pulled in 2012. $43.8 million was how much they pulled in for 2017.
Which is down a bit from
from 44,890,000, 44,613,000.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember, was it not 2017 when they took out a bank loan?
Yeah.
Secured against all of the assets of the game. So like that sends it up a bit. And then, I mean, this year they're talking about $36.8 million for subscribers, for pledges, not including the other two things on there, which is subscriptions and other income. Included in other income is a $35 million, a $46 million dollars in private investment. So basically, like, that's going to be probably about double what the game actually brought in. I mean, my second game of the year last year was God of War, which obviously was an expensive game. But like my second game of the year, like number 2 on my list was Dead Cells. I almost called it Dark Souls there. Like, and I mean that game did not cost like $500 million to make.
No.
And you know what? I play it all the fucking time, and it's really, really good.
The thing is, this game's been going on for so long that it's never going to meet everyone's expectations.
It certainly isn't going to be a $500 million game.
No. Though I would like to counter the point you said before that about like the not needing the marketing as much, because they do. Because there are a lot of people out there who have no idea about this game. I mean, they've got their primary market, I'll grant you that.
Their primary market is big.
They've reeled in those whales.
Their primary market is worth $43 million a year. How many games make 43? Like the biggest ones: COD, FIFA, Overwatch. I mean, they make billions, but I mean, there's not many games that make that much money in a year. And like, this isn't even a game yet; it's a alpha.
Yeah.
With a single player component, which apparently is now a separate game.
Yeah.
Star Citizen's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
I don't mean crazy as in Star Citizen's awesome. I mean, it's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, you couldn't. They couldn't have predicted this. What happened when they start that Kickstarter?
It's just, why did they need another $46 million?
I think part of it was the feature creep.
But I don't know, man. Like, cool on them for getting it. It's just like I can't see any way that a single game is that much. It's not even like the strangest part is the weirdest part in all of this. It's like it doesn't need to sell to break even, because the money doesn't come from apart from what we just learned in the bank loan from a couple of years ago. The money doesn't come from investors. It comes from people who are buying things in the game. So that's pure profit.
I mean,
have to pay that back.
Yes, but they took out a bank loan for some reason, and they did get a load of expensive actors to be in the single player game, which I remember at the time they announced it, there was quite a few people angry about that. because it wasn't really what they wanted from the game.
Yeah, because people were angry because they bought into the idea of Star Citizen being this huge, amazing online shared world space sci-fi simulation, and they were spending fucking shitloads of money getting Mark Hamill and Gillian Anderson to do like mocap and voice acting for a single player campaign that they didn't really want.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they don't have the money to finish this game by now, I would love to see what they've spent that money on.
Indeed. Which was why I made a prediction last year about financial issues, which didn't come true. I can kind of see now in this graph.
Yeah, no, I mean, that, like, when it says, oh, they've released the financial records, it's like they've released where their money comes from, not where their money goes, which is the financial record that people want to see.
Yeah, which is what people tried to get before via lawsuits and stuff.
Indeed. Okay, we're going to not bother with that one. I'm not really going to read this next one. Basically, Fallout 76 is probably going to have loot boxes.
Yeah. It is what it is. Fallout 76 is very much veered away from what everyone saw in that initial
very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Bethesda previously said that only cosmetics would be unlockable through microtransactions and that Fallout 76 wouldn't have loot boxes. But the things that are in the loot boxes are actually gameplay altering, not cosmetics. Yeah. So technically, like, they can get away with saying, we never said it would never have loot boxes. I mean, that's certainly one way to go.
Loot boxes from 2017 onward. They're the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when your game's in the shitter because everybody hates it because it doesn't work right, and even if you can get it to work right, it's not really all that fun. And also, it's not like something that fans of the Fallout franchise wanted. Doubling down by throwing in some loot boxes probably isn't going to help. I'll give you that advice for free. Like,
I'm still waiting for the outcome of that class action lawsuit.
We'll see, I guess. I mean, I've got a prediction tied up in Fallout 76 for a video coming out on Wednesday. Anyway, let's move on to the last news story, which is Doom Eternal composer wants you to join his heavy metal screamers choir. This is from Vicky Black over at Eurogamer, who writes, composer Mick Gordon, God amongst men, is recruiting a heavy metal screamers choir for an unspecified project that is highly likely to be, if not quite confirmed, Doom Eternal. Quote, I'm currently writing music for a video game. I really want to record a choir. But for this project, I don't want to record a regular choir. I want to record a choir made up entirely of heavy metal screamers. To the best of my knowledge, I don't believe this has ever been done before. Therefore, here is an open invitation to anyone out there who wants to apply to join our heavy metal choir. We're looking for all types of screamers. Your level of experience doesn't matter. We're looking for all genders. As long as you're over 18, it doesn't matter how old you are. As long as you have a killer metal scream, I want you, end quote. So I'm going to tweet Patrick.
Yeah. Tom, I imagine. Just one thing. Can you imagine if this isn't Doom Eternal? If he's already nailed the songs down and he's doing another project?
Yeah.
Because that would be awesome as well.
I mean, maybe it's another entirely different game. Like, Mick Gordon did some music for Lawbreakers. He did the Killer Instinct soundtrack. He did the Prey soundtrack. It's not necessarily Doom. I mean, heavy metal screamers definitely implies it's Doom, but
yeah, I had an actual choir, I believe, on the Doom one.
Doom, yeah.
Masterminds, where it sounds like a choir.
We listen to Mick Gordon's music a lot, just so you guys are fully aware.
Yeah, I kind of bought it to be an idea for a workout soundtrack.
It gets you where you need to go.
It does get me to work really quickly because I walk, and if I stick on BFG Division, I get to work in surprising time.
Yeah. If you want to get somewhere quickly, the Doom soundtrack is the way to go. If you want to die during a cardio workout, I imagine the Doom soundtrack is also the way to go. Keith, I'm going to read the games out this week list because we're back in the swing of things, baby. New games is coming out. On January 15th, we've got Onimusha Warlords for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. We also have Vane for PS4, which was shown off at the Kind of Funny Games showcase, and I still don't know who the fucking narrator was. We also have The Walking Dead, the final season, Episode 3, Broken Toys for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. And My Time at Is it Portia or Portia?
Portia.
Portia. My Time at Portia, which is coming out of early access on PC.
On January the 17th, we have Hell Waters on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Oh dear, I've just seen the name of the next one. Octodetron on Switch.
Octahedron on Switch.
And
Y2K, a postmodern RPG for PC, PS4, and Switch. This is why I took a breath to keep going. On January 18th, we have Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown for PS4, PSVR, and Xbox One. We also have Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes for Switch, and Senran Kagura Burst Renewal. Because it's either misspelt in the article I pulled this from, or it's misspelt as a game title for a specific reason. I don't know. I've played one Senran Kagura game for like 2 hours. And I was like, nope, not for me. That's coming out on PS4. Also on January 18th. Keith, we're back.
Yeah.
I feel like we shook off the rust very quickly there.
Yeah.
And we've kind of hit the ground running. I feel like we're good to go. Like, we've got another 11 months before our next break. Yeah. Just best not to think of it in those terms.
Yeah. Now you tell me.
Only 5 months to E3. If you didn't know, everybody, and I've been posting this all over social media, so it's probable that you do know. But if you don't, we are doing a 48-hour live stream for a little charity called Special Effect. They're an amazing charity for who keeps falling asleep for some reason. You know you're gonna be there, right?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get some sleeping before we have to marathon it.
Yeah, so we're doing a 48-hour charity for Special Effect, who build custom controllers for disabled people so that they can play games and be able to participate with their friends, their parents, their family members. There's some videos that you can find really easily. You should go check them out. They're fucking awesome. They totally didn't have... I've never cried while watching them. But if you head over to justgiving.com/GB19 wordsmarkgames, you can donate and really help us. Well, help motivate us through the 48-hour live stream, but also unlock some donation goals. There are currently 2 that you can see on the website itself. As Keith knows, there are a lot more, and this stream could get fucking nuts.
They get weirder as you go in.
Yeah, they start off being about games, like such and such will play this game, or such and such, or we'll all do karaoke, or such and such, and we'll do this game, and when they die, they will eat jelly beans. That might be disgusting, and then it just gets weird. Really weird.
Really quickly.
Really quick, yeah, it escalates. But no, if you can't donate or to us at all, that's absolutely fine. Just share the links over on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you want. Just try and spread the word and try and get us up. We're trying to beat last year's fundraising total.
Which was?
I don't know, like 400 quid. The problem is it doesn't count gift aid in the actual total pot. It was around about £400. Basically, I'm trying to beat £400. I feel like that's a good aim to have. We're going to be taking it in shifts. No, we won't be doing all 48 hours straight from start to finish. And I think that's going to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me, Keith. Is it good to be back?
I've decided this year to indulge the evoking practice of calling out and purge myself emotion, so I didn't even cut all that.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts for, everybody. I'll give it till February. Say bye, Keith.
Bye, Keith.